Hi, I'm Brooke. Welcome to my channel. Today, let's talk about how to allow, how to allow your feelings, how to just let them move through. I feel like a lot of people talk about acceptance and allowing you to process things, and a lot of it sounds really complicated, but it's not that complicated. So I'm going to tell you the first time that I deliberately allowed what you might call like a negative feeling, the feeling of panic. And it was really interesting and had a really interesting result. And this is such an important thing, I think, because look, I used to be someone that had terrible anxiety and panic attacks, like severe panic attacks. And I got myself to a place where I felt a lot better. I went through lots of processes and um, I had my life feeling generally good, but I was still having some panicky things, not like full panic attacks, but I never really wanted to let myself open up to those feelings because I was afraid that I would like start having panic attacks again. And then at some point, someone helped me realize that like you have to allow things to move through you. And that was pretty scary for me. But once I did it, I realized it's amazing. And holding it back is way more work than allowing it. And when you allow it, it's so freeing. And it doesn't have to be some, you don't have to go to some retreat and do a bunch of fancy, breath work or whatever. You really don't need any of that stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with those things. And if you like that stuff, that's fine. But I'm gonna make it so simple for you. And, those things can be helpful, but everything is really more simple than we make it out to be. I've said this before. So I'm going to walk you through what I did, what happened as a result, and it's really going to be helpful if you're dealing with uncomfortable feelings that you're having trouble facing or allowing. And I totally understand. I used to be terrified to feel my feelings. And now stuff comes up and I just go, okay. I just let it move. And what happens when you let it move, then, things in your life can start to move and flow. And that brings me to telling you a bit about me. I'm looking at these pictures behind me. I'm a fine art photographer, and this is some of my work. I'm in my gallery in Manhattan Beach, California. Speaking of flow, these pictures of the ocean, they remind us of being in the flow, especially something like surfing. You really have to go with the movement of the water. And, with this particular picture, these guys in real life, it really looked like they were going to hit each other. They came so close to each other. At least that's what it looked like from my vantage point. But they were in flow. They worked out. And so, this idea of going with the flow, my artwork is very much about being in the present moment, going with the flow. And when I'm in that moment, everything is working out and it feels so good. So, and this is always the topic for my videos at the end of the day. It always comes down to being in that present moment. So, for me, it's easy to get in the moment when I'm taking pictures. When I'm not taking pictures, it's easy for me to get out of the flow. But then I remind myself. And I make these videos to help empower you and to remind myself, oh, yeah, I can do it. So if you want some reminders, I think it helps, like having a vision board to put a piece of art on your walls that means something that has the energy of that present moment, that flow. If you want to check out my artwork, I'm going to put a link to my website. And if you want to talk to me one-on-one, I'm going to put a link to like the bookings for that, and we can talk about getting you in the flow. So here's my story. So years ago, so I went through stages of like panic attacks, and I had moved through that and I had definitely gotten myself to a place where I was so much better than I ever was. But I was still pretty nervous about a lot of things and not really knowing how to face certain things. I hate that term, like facing it, like it's a bad thing, but allowing things to move. I was still like scared to let feelings come up because I thought that would lead to going into like a full panic attack and back into really feeling all of that and feeling stuck like how I was feeling before. So, I got myself to feeling pretty good, but I was afraid to really open up because then I thought I would go back. But of course, that's not really how it works. You don't really go back no matter what, even if you have like kind of ebb and flow, you're always growing. But I didn't know that at the time. So I was in a situation. So I used to do social media management and content creation. I did it on a consulting basis. And I had clients that I would do freelance, and a lot of them kept me on a monthly retainer. And I've talked about that in other videos, I think. And it was still, oh yeah, I talked about it recently. So in that, consulting work, I was figuring out the whole monthly retainer and things like that. And so I would do this thing where the first of the month would be approaching, when people would pay the retainer. And I would, like a couple nights before the first of the month, I would go to sleep, and then I would like start to feel like a panic. What if nobody pays me? What if everybody fires me? Well, what if I lose all my clients, right? And I would just like it would start to like panic, and then I would just talk myself out of it. Because I thought at that time, I thought that's what I didn't want to panic, right? I didn't want to go into like full panic attack because that's what I thought it would lead to. And I thought what I should do is just talk myself, oh, that's crazy. That's never going to happen. So I would just sort of discount the feelings. That's all I knew at the time. And so I would do this like, oh, come on, what are the odds of that happening? Blah, 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 blah. That's not going to happen, right? And so I would kind of get myself like calm enough, right, where I could go to sleep. And then, of course, the first of the month would come and it would be fine. And I would be fine until the end of the month. And then I would panic again. And so at some point, I realized like that's not really working out, is it? Because every month I would just go through the same cycle. So I mentioned it to someone who, like an intuitive person, and this is like sort of the beginning of like me really opening up to all this stuff. And this person told me about The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. You probably have heard of it. And Eckhart, he really just talks about like the present moment, it's where it's at. Like everything's fine in the present moment if you're being honest and blah, blah, blah. Anxiety is only about like past or future. So this person told me about that. I had never heard of it at that time. And they said, what if you just sit and allow yourself to panic, just allow the feelings to come, be in the moment with it. And I thought that sounded crazy, right? Like, what do you mean? These thoughts are stupid and it's not going to happen. I'm not going to lose all my clients. It's just like a panicky thought. It's irrational. I'm not going to I can't just like allow that. And I don't want to panic. I'm not going to let myself panic, whatever excuses I made. And so this person was just like, well, just telling you what I think. And so I just kind of like dropped it. And then, sure enough, the end of the month came, and I got in bed and started to feel the panic, started to feel myself talking myself out of it. And then I remembered what this person said. And then I thought, fuck it. All right, let's try this, right? I figured this isn't working out. I don't want to keep staying in this cycle. So I just sat there. And I didn't argue with anything. I didn't like engage with the thoughts. I just let myself sit there, let myself be in the present moment, let the feeling of panic rise up. And again, there wasn't like this back and forth. I just went, all right, okay, right? And I remember it kind of like rose up and then like sort of washed over me. And then that was it. And then it was gone. And it was so interesting because I was like, huh, okay, that wasn't so bad. And went to sleep. And guess what? Never happened again. I did that work for like 10 years after that, 9 years, something like that. I did it for a lot of years after that. And I never did that again, where I would go, oh my God, nobody's going to pay me, blah, 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 blah. Like I just let go. Now, have I ever worried about anything since? Of course. But that particular thing, I never worried about that again. And, worked out. I always had great clients. Everything always worked out. And now things all feel panic about stuff. And now I know, just sit there and allow it to just move. And what it is, like what's really important here is don't engage. So what I was doing that was leading to the constant, leading to it happening over and over again. I was trying to convince it. I was trying to like put it down. So everything is its own entity. Thoughts are things. They really, really are. And just like you and me, you want someone to take you seriously, right? You want someone to talk to you and listen to you and let you be you. So a thought of, uh-oh, what if blah, 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 blah doesn't work out? That's what it is. Just as much like, okay, I have these things here. This is a little pouch or whatever. This is a picture of a lifeguard tower, and this is a bird. And it's like, if I was trying to convince this thing, you're actually a picture of a lifeguard tower. That's what this is. That's what this is. And then, it's going, no, I'm a bird, right? I'm like, no, 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 you shouldn't be a bird. Look at this. This is what you should be. Do you see this? Do you see what you should be? Like, that's not right. You can think about it with like actual objects that you can see and touch. But when it comes to thoughts, you think, it's just a thought, just like this thing that it's not a thing, right? But it is a thing. The thought, what if nobody pays me? That's is just as much of a thing as this. And if I'm trying to be like, that's not what you are, that's not the right thing to, the only right way to have a pouch is to have a pouch of a lifeguard tower. It's not right to have a pouch of a bird. This pouch would be like, what do you mean? But this is what I am. That's, it really is like that. And so as soon as I just went, okay, you're worried about this. Okay. And I just shut up about it. I stopped trying to make it wrong or non-existent or stupid or whatever. And I just let it exist just the way it is. And I just didn't argue, I didn't engage, didn't judge it. I just allowed it to exist. So funny, even as I'm talking about this right now, I could feel like my solar plexus like open and like my throat, like all of this just like opened up. It's a thing. It wants to express. I wish I could convey there's like a whole like opening here. It's so freeing when you just go, okay, sure. That's what you are. A thought that says, what if nobody pays me? What if I get fired? There's nothing right or wrong, good or bad. Shit like that happens, right? That thought exists because something happened to someone and so now this thought is out there in the ether, right? And I picked it up. Other people pick it up too. It just is something that exists. It's like if I buy this and then give it to somebody, and then someone gives it to someone else, it's like the same thing. And so if you just go, okay, yeah, you're a thought that says, what if everybody fires me? Okay, that's a thought, that's something. And then it just like disappears because it's trying to get you to just acknowledge it. Doesn't mean you have to believe it or accept, like, oh, this is my life now. And in fact, when you start to argue with it or tell it it's wrong or stupid or whatever, that is when it starts to become part of your life. Because it's like if someone went up to you and was insistent, like let's say, I have blonde hair. Someone was insistent, your hair is brown, your hair is brown, your hair is brown, your hair is brown. I'd be like, no, it's not. Like at some point I'd be like, shut up. It's not. What do you mean? Right? At some point I would like, what do you mean? Right. And maybe, I mean, if it was someone that was like in my face all the time, I probably would try and like engage with it. So this thought, whatever thought you're having and whatever thought is entering into your field, I mean, maybe there's another video we can do about thoughts because I have a lot of thoughts about thoughts. But it's really not you, it's not who you are. It's really like these things that are just moving around in the ether and other dimensions, however you want to think about that. And it is a thing and it does have an identity and it just exists. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. And it doesn't, like anything else, it just wants to be acknowledged and seen for what it is. And then it can just move on. And when you do that, it's like go, oh, yeah, I see you. No big deal. And like, I don't really, doesn't mean anything to me. I don't need to take that on. And then I could just move on. It's such an interesting experience. So if you haven't already tried this, I highly recommend it. And like I said, I mean, it's fine, like all the stuff, the movement, the breath, the this or that, all that stuff is great. If it helps you get there, great. But also it can be as simple as just you're lying it down in your bed and a thought comes and you just recognize, oh, I'll just let this be here. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to let it exist. And then just see what happens. I promise you, it's just going to disappear. It has no choice. It's only your consistent engagement with it that keeps it going, or at least keeps it going in your reality. So it's a fun little thing to do. Highly recommend. And curious to see if you already do this, if you try it after watching this video, and you want to share your experience. Do you have like recurring thoughts? And here's one more thing I'll leave you with, because this is something I still get caught up, as much as I've done these things and have the experience, of course, I am a human and I'll get like all of a sudden I'm like entangled and then I'm just like, oh shit. What's so important is just really getting used to observing yourself, observing your thoughts. And so now I can see like, a lot of times it happens in bed or in the shower, places where you're quiet. And let's say in the shower, like before I know it, I'm sort of having a conversation in my mind. And I'll start to feel anxious and I'll take a step back and I'll do this practice. I'll just be like, just stop, just let go. And then you see the thing has nothing to attach to when you do that. And so it just blows away, it just dissolves. You just go, okay. It's like do you ever have a fight with someone, right? And it can only keep going if both people keep going. But if someone goes, you know what, you're right. I'm sorry. The other person, you're like angry and someone's like, okay, eh, there's like nothing to do. There's nothing to like latch on to. So give it a whirl if you haven't already. And life is more simple than we make it out to be. And the more we do this with like opening and letting things be quiet in our own beingness, the better life can get. I think at least the better my life has gotten. And even just telling the story, like my whole body, it's like remembering how good it feels to just stop, just let go. Just go, okay. Right? Because otherwise it's just frustrating. And yeah, the surefire way to not panic or to not continue is to just stop. It sounds harder than it is. It's so simple. So I hope you got something out of that. Definitely, my goal is always helpful, empowering. You've got this. You don't really need anything fancy. It's all just right here, just being in the present moment, getting in the flow, allowing. All right, see you in the next video.